it. And it'll be available, it'll be posted and be available for download in 2 days. Okay, and with that, I'm gonna turn the floor over to Joe, who's going to introduce our first speaker of the night. Joe, all yours.
Okay, well, as most of you have seen already, this is Liz Miller over here. She's on my left. I don't know where she is for everybody else, but she's from GetSetUp. She's the communications director. Did I get that right? Close
I'd
enough,
like to
Liz?
be the director. I'm the manager, but there's no director, so.
Oh, okay. At any
Sort of
rate,
there.
and she's going to tell us all about GetSetUp and the programs that they have available and all that kind of good stuff. And I'm going to let her do all the definitions of everything else. So go get them, Liz.
Great, thank you so much. Is it okay if I share my screen then?
Absolutely, go right ahead. It's all yours.
So I appreciate you inviting me to your event this evening to let me share. Oops, hold on. There we go. I work at GetSetUp. And so what is GetSetUp? GetSetUp is the most fun community, I think. It's an online community that's specifically designed for people who are 50 plus, who want to learn new skills, connect with others, and unlock new life experiences. I used to work as a school teacher for high school. So unlike working as a school teacher for high school, GetSetUp is full of amazing people who want to learn things and know things and teach things. And if you've ever worked as a teacher in high school or younger, not everyone wants to learn. So this is just a really great and empowering community that offers a social and interactive learning environment, and it's available around the clock, which is great if you're an early riser or someone who likes to stay up late. So a bit about what GetSetUp is. We have a number of guides, and our guides are all professionals who are 50 or above, and they share their expertise with their peers. So we have a number of different kinds of areas where people can do a number of different things. So for example, Glenda teaches classes on meditation and dance and some social hours around that. She also teaches chair yoga. Russ, he works with a lot of our travel classes, and he was a former publisher. He's walked the Camino de Santiago and shares stories about that and other journeys. He's also an avid bike rider, so explains about biking and what he calls slow travel, which is not about trying to get pictures at every single tourist destination possible, but about really being able to go and travel and enjoy places and maybe find some local restaurants and things. A lot of our early technology. I think you guys are perhaps a little bit beyond the basic tech for computer classes since you're in the computer club, but she does a lot of that for people who are looking to kind of understand a bit more. And Deb works with cooking classes and healthy eating and really how to eat well on a budget or adjust your diet perhaps around diabetes and some other things. For those of you who are interested in some of the more techie advanced classes, our main go-to guys for that would be Wade, Scott, and Bob. Wade does a lot of our smart home technology classes, which is really interesting, talking about some of the new devices and tech that are available that you can integrate into your homes and that you may have questions on. Scott does our photography classes, and he really works within communication. So around some of the apps for editing and saving and sending and adjusting, making flyers. And Bob Cohen works with a lot of our more advanced computer classes around some of the Excels and things like this. We have a lot of different classes. So what's kind of nice is you're able to really focus on different areas that might be of interest to you. We have over 4,000 classes. They're not all running at one time. That's like throughout the year. We have special classes on holidays and Christmas and things, and really around the clock. So our main categories are around technology. That's probably still the one everyone likes the most. Health and well-being, creativity. We have a number of job skill classes as well. We have guest speakers. So my dad had just come on to speak about growing up Amish as a guest speaker. We have people who come on from the American Heart Society to talk about kind of the latest health tech around heart health. And we have people who are CEOs of Zoom come on. So really a wide variety of guest speakers covering a number of different topics. We have also social hours for people who would like to talk about specific kind of topics. There's a number of those. I'll talk about them a bit later. And fitness is another one of our big classes. I know Tai Chi and yoga and things. And so what's really great about GetSetUp is you learn skills that can help you not just with the computer, but also improving health and wellness, perhaps professional skills, whether you're using them for volunteering or perhaps maybe just some new technology and software skills so that you can be up to date to know better project with, or if you're doing perhaps some consulting. And so there's also opportunities to volunteer. Joe's one of our volunteers, which I'll talk about later, or mentor and help out. And it's a great way to learn how to connect better with friends and family, especially from some of the younger generations. If you've perhaps heard about Snapchat, but don't really know what it is, and it's not quite as cool as cryptocurrencies to have an entire event on, maybe it might just be fun to take a class where you can ask some questions to perhaps try and understand what one of the children in your life is Snapchatting about, because even I needed an explanation on Snapchat. So we try to keep our classes regularly updated to include some of these things so that people can learn about technology that's just up and coming because it's changing so fast. And there's also a lot of opportunities to kind of pursue passions for people who are creative. There's a number of drawing classes or classes around music. Goal setting classes. We do a number of business classes. So around entrepreneurship for people who are looking to maybe start their own thing or learn how to market something they're already doing a bit better online. We've started our first startup accelerator. So we had over 20 people taking a series of classes, and come June, they're going to be competing for $10,000 towards their business. Through whoever gives the best pitch. There's going to be judges, and so it's going to be pretty exciting. We'll have 2 winners, so that's exciting. And we're a global platform, so what's really kind of fun is you have the opportunity to hear perspectives and opinions from other places in the world on a variety of topics. I know one of our members runs a social group. He's a community host on living with diabetes, and they trade ideas. And one of the things he said was really interesting was to hear how diabetes is dealt with in Europe. They have a member who comes in, I don't remember exactly where he's from, maybe the Netherlands. And they just have a different viewpoint on it because healthcare is a little different. So that's another exciting thing. And of course, it's fun. So at any point, if you want to ask questions too, feel free. I'm going to give you a tour of the site so you get a better idea of what I'm talking about, which is less. What?
That was my phone. I'll turn it off.
Oh. Okay, I thought it was a question. I just couldn't hear it. So one of the things that's nice about classes on GetSetUp is they're live and they're interactive. So it's a nice way to ask questions, get answers, share your answers if you know some insights, make friends, and they're just an hour long. So, you can hop in, hop out, and you are going to be within a group of people that are really kind of supportive around whatever topic that you're interested in talking about. We do try to keep our classes free for our end users. So I'll talk about some of the partnerships we have in Illinois that may apply to you, but we do partnerships with local communities and government organizations and area agencies on aging. So we try to make it so that that happens. So far, we don't have a partnership with the whole state of Illinois yet, but who knows if that's coming. We have a number of states, 8 of them to be exact, including Michigan and New York, where classes are free to everyone over 60 in the whole state. And then we have other partnerships, which I'll talk about in a bit. Then we also have community hosts. And so community hosts are members of our community who are volunteering. Our guides are paid because they tend to do between 15 or more hours a week of classes. And so they're really focused on specific topics and things. But our community hosts are volunteers who share about things they're passionate about. So Joe's one of them, and he shares about NetSpeak, tricks for the internet. We have Simply Delicious Meatless Recipes. Greg is running all about jazz music. So there's a number of different topics, and it's a nice way to find a group of people who share similar passions and are interested. And these run weekly or bi-weekly. And there's a lot of support if it's something that you want to do. There's a TA in the class, and there's a number of people on our programming team that help you organize and plan around it. And then they work within kind of a group, and we're working on ways to connect more of the people who are community hosts and enjoy. Taking classes is really easy. So I'm going to walk you through and show you. It's just as simple as either entering or booking. So depending on what kind of a person you are, I'm personally a person who likes to book things ahead of time. My boyfriend is a person who likes to do things when he feels like it at the moment. So he'd be more entering at the last minute and just kind of enjoying what's there. So the nice thing is you can book, but you don't have to. You can still join classes even if you haven't booked, just based on your schedule. And then you can choose times that work best for you. Our classes are offered a variety of different times, so there may be a time that works a bit better. And we have lots of ways to engage. I'm going to kind of take you through a number of them, but we have Zoom like we're on now, which is live and interactive, and you can chat like you're used to. But we also have what we call the GetSetUp Lounge. And so this you can watch just from your browser. So this is great for people who perhaps aren't as skilled or haven't learned Zoom yet, because if they have kind of devices that may be older and things, sometimes it can be hard to download Zoom. And so they can still participate in the class. They can chat, they can watch the class live, and their chatting is live and monitored by the TA. So they're participating. They're just not on video. So the other reason it's nice is I have a number of ladies, generally speaking, not that it can't be you gentlemen, but they say that they like to sit in the lounge because they haven't done their hair yet. So depending on how much hair you have, this may or may not be as much of a factor. And we have also some communities online as well. So the most fun part is really going to be really around kind of exploring the site. And then I'd be happy to kind of walk you guys through. Can you still see my screen?
Yeah, you're okay.
Okay. So it's really easy to log in. You just log in by signing in with your password. Mine's already saved, and you can use your phone number as well so that you have an extra sense of security. If you're attached to a partnership, it's going to come up. And there's a number of different features that you have. Let me minimize this. Great. So we have a number of featured classes. So always at the beginning, we have kind of a virtual help desk. If you have any questions, Marge and Marvin are in here all the time. And so Marv goes through his new member orientation and shows you about the site and things and answers questions. And Marge can answer any questions if you're having kind of some tech problems and things like that. And these are kind of open classes that people come in, go in and out and leave. And then we have things like guest speaking and iPhone basics. And these are just going to be the classes that may be featured that particular week. Next, you're going to have live classes. So these are classes that are going on right now. So for example, you can just hop right into the class. You don't have to have pre-scheduled. And it's going to start to talk here in a second. So I'm going to put on silent. So this class is happening live. So it's in Mandarin, so we might not be able to understand, but you can stop it if you need to go, and then it will pick up where it is. You could join the live session if you're interested in participating in the live session. For lots of our fitness classes, people like to stay in the lounge if they don't want to be on camera. But even so, you can still use emojis to participate. You can type in the chat, and this explains a bit about the class, and then you can see anyone else who is in the class or talking. We always have a TA in the class. So a TA is our teaching assistant.
An assistant.
Yeah. And so they're there to help anyone who may have questions or tech support. And so they're always there. And this is nice because it helps. The goal ideally is so that whoever is teaching the class, our guide or our community host, they don't need to help solve tech issues. Instead, our TA can work with people on those, and the class can keep going for the rest of the students who are involved. And then I will show a bit more. Yeah, so on our homepage as well, you can see classes that are starting soon. We also have a number of series, which are kind of nice, so that you can see classes that may go together in a certain area. So like learning photography like a pro. If you wanted to kind of get together and see all about some of the different photography classes, maybe you've taken some photography, but perhaps you don't know about using Snapseed or how to do the magic of Photos apps. And then there's oftentimes for some of these groups, we've got tips and discussions weekly. I know photography has a weekly photo challenge with a group of people who are very excited about it, and they're always sending in their pictures. They do some lovely pictures, and then they vote on the winner each week. And then there's a little bit about each of our guides who are teaching and some of our community hosts. So if you want to learn a bit more about some of our guides, you can click on their picture here. You can read a bit more about Wade's experience. And then you can also find all the classes that he's teaching right now that are on our schedule. Our schedule is updated about every 2 weeks. So if you're looking for something in August, we won't have it up yet, or even the end of June. We have a couple things for guest speakers, but for our regular classes, we don't have them. And there's a number of other ways as well to browse classes. If you go to classes, you can look on today. You can sort by category if you're interested perhaps in business classes. You can see what's coming up, and it's going to show you day by day to book what you're most interested in. If you find a guide that you like, for example, you may want to see all the classes taught by Bob that are coming up this week. And so then you can see these classes and go in here and just book perhaps some of your favorite guides. Everyone's got a bit of their own style, so it's always good to be able to follow the guides that you're most interested in. And then you can always come in here as well and see your schedule. So these are the classes you've booked that haven't happened. So for example, I was telling you about the entrepreneurs. They're going to have demo days. We've got 20 of them, so there's more than one. And so I've booked those, and the guest speaking event with my dad is coming up. So those are on my calendar. And so that's a nice way to hop in to see what I'm doing. Or you can search by the days of the week. Oops. So based on Wednesday, for example. Oh, this is in June. Hold on. Yeah, based on if I want to maybe only do something on Friday. And we have classes in a variety of languages. So we are located with hubs in the US, India, Australia, and we're starting to really pick up in the UK here, and a couple of people in Canada. I think those are going to be our next big places. So now, because it's getting light, India is starting to wake up, and so we have a number of classes in India that are starting in the early morning my time, and then it goes in, because I'm slightly ahead of you guys, and then it goes into some of the other classes, Lee teaching about telehealth, for example, and how to do virtual visits. And then if you are interested in classes in different languages, we offer classes in Spanish, in Mandarin, Hindi, and a couple other Indian dialects. Yeah, and then if you go to stories, on our blog, we have a number of different articles kind of about what's going on and keeping up within our community, the latest. We recently sponsored an athlete at the Senior Olympics, Ellen. She's been running this week. She's placed second and third in some of the senior games. So that's very exciting. And one more way that you can participate, and within our menu, you can see kind of a bit more about us and things like that. For partnerships that are based in kind of your more local area, we have two. If you're a Silver Sneakers member, some eligible Silver Sneakers members have our classes at no additional charge. And we're also working with Easter Seals in the Illinois area right now. So, and then our team is always partnering with new people. So at any time we might have a different partnership within your area. And let's see if there's any other exciting classes happening right now. We might want to hop in. For example, we might want to see Donna's class. So we get an idea for a class that is in English.
Compared to some other babies we've seen.
Yeah. This one, here we go. This is a Saint. Oh, this is in Wadsworth, Anthony, isn't that in Connecticut? In Hartford?
You can type in the chat.
Does anybody know who Saint Sarah Pion is?
So within here as well, you can see the people in the class. Because I'm an admin, I can ban the people in the class if they're not doing well. You won't be able to do that. But as you can see, if you look, you have kind of 33 participants who are inside the live class, and then you have more within the Zoom. And so there's people who are talking, here because perhaps they don't want to participate in the Zoom, which is fine that day. And then other people are live with Donna and chatting, but they don't show up in the live chat that you see unless they want to. So that's my initial tour. Does anyone have any questions or want me to go anywhere different on the site to show you something?
So where do you get your funding for this, Liz?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So we partner with organizations. So we partner with a lot of governments. So like I mentioned, we have 8 partnerships with different states, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, New York Aging. We have partnerships in Washington State, Nebraska, Vermont, South Dakota, Wyoming. And so everywhere is a little different. In California, we partnered with the California libraries. So the classes are available to anyone with a library card in California, in participating areas. And so through that, the organizations pay and are then able to help. With Silver Sneakers, for example, your health plan, if you're a Silver Sneakers member who's eligible, your health plan then pays for the classes that you're taking. And so our goal is really to make the classes as accessible to people as possible. Right now, there is an opportunity to really experience all the classes, to just test them. And then if for some reason, you wanted classes and you needed to talk to someone about finding a partnership or something else, our team's always willing to kind of work with you and see if we have a partner that you would fall within. So.
On one of your last screens, you said you can ban somebody. Do you have to ban people from your site?
No, so one of the things we did with that Zoom layer, I'm sorry, the lounge layer, is that comes before Zoom. So during the pandemic, some of you may have been in Zoom sessions that were being Zoom bombed, perhaps. Are you guys aware of what Zoom bombing is?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so what we did with the lounge is we created an additional layer of security and protection. So in order to get into the Zoom, you have to pass through our lounge. So what that allows us to do is really prevent those Zoom bombers from coming in. They're not able to get in and kind of interfere in things. And then that allows us to ban kind of troublemakers. So we haven't had those problems since then. But no, it's not common that we have to ban anyone. But of course, I mean, we do have community policies. So if you were, I don't know, doing something inappropriate that you would know would be inappropriate, if you're, harassing someone or trying to, I don't know, sell something. Occasionally we get people posting videos trying to sell random things. And
Question.
then
Question. I don't know what Zoom bombing is.
Wonderful. Well, Zoom bombing is something that some very bored people decided to do to be rude. It's kind of like prank calling, except on a Zoom call. So if you remember when people used to call you and say, hey, is your refrigerator running? You better go get it, and then hang up. Zoom bombing, essentially you'd have people who came into like this meeting now who were not invited, who are not part of our group. And they came in just to cause problems. They think it's funny. It's not. And so sometimes that could be just making annoying noises so that somebody can't talk. Sometimes they're showing lewd pictures. Kind of depends on the Zoom bomber, but it was disruptive and not pleasant usually. So yeah, it's the modern day prank phone call, but sometimes worse.
So
The other-
if I went to your website now, the
Uh-huh.
GetSetUp.org, I can register and I can find and attend classes.
Right now you're able to
It's
experiment.
.io, isn't it?
Yeah, it's .io or .org. Both of them go to the same
Org
place.
works. I didn't know that.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
It's because we have both of them, because initially some people had some trouble to remember IO because it's one of the sort of more modern endings. So we got both of them, and both of them go to the exact same site. So it's going to be getsetup.io at the end, but either of them work.
So if my state of Illinois doesn't partner with you anymore, then I can't attend, or I can always attend no matter who partners with you.
You can always attend the classes. We're going to work with you to help you find a partner that works within it. Right now, the classes are available for you to try and experiment at no cost. But in the future, that may change. But also there's a number of ways that our team is working to kind of sort that out. So one of the things we thought about is our community hosts. They do a lot of volunteering. So if they don't fall within a partner, perhaps they would have access anyways. We're really willing to work with you. So if that became a problem, we do have a number you can call to speak with our support team, and they can help see if you align with any of our other partnerships, because we have state partnerships, but we have partnerships with health plans, with other organizations that maybe you're already a member of. So our support team could help you with that if that was an issue.
Question.
Yeah.
Are you planning, or do you have any partnerships with AARP?
Very good question. ARP is a nonprofit, so I don't think that they would pay us ever. But we were listed as some of their resources during the pandemic for older adults. And so we work with them in the sense that they do recognize us as a resource, and we work with them on a number of different things kind of within social media and things like that. But I don't think they would ever pay for our services in that kind of a partnership,
Well-
just
Well,
because.
Silver Sneakers is associated with their some of their health insurance programs. And when you get the health insurance programs, you get Silver Sneakers, and Silver Sneakers is a sponsor of GetSetUp, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, though I
So
do.
you get in through, there's a door
Yeah.
here or there. And in the collar counties of Chicago, Age Guide currently, I think, has an agreement with GetSetUp. At least that's what it tells me every time I log on to GetSetUp. So it says Age Guide is your sponsor. So at any rate, if you're in the collar counties, not Cook County, but in the collar counties around it, Age Guide would be kind of your sponsor on that. And if you have any kind of problem with it or whatever, you can call them. That's what the group is called. It's called Age Guide, and it's located in Downers Grove. I think they have offices in one of the malls out here, not malls, but the little industrial complexes.
And with that too, I believe that we're able to see where you're coming in from your IP address. So it notices that right for you. So you don't actually have to say that if you're in those areas.
So Liz, are all the classes live then? Or is it, do we ever, if we register and go in, are we seeing any pre-recorded stuff or everything's just live?
So we are looking, some people have been requesting some pre-recorded stuff, particularly for some of the exercise classes, for example. So you may see some pre-recorded classes. If so, they should be labeled as such. Generally, they will be saying a replay or something like that. We had more of them before, but right now we're not running very many of them. Most of the classes are live because that is our goal with the classes. The idea is really around interaction and creating that network and community. So we have a number of people who are looking for kind of the recordings and replays. So that is something we're looking into and maybe becoming more available for certain classes. And then some classes we would never do replays on. We have classes, around kind of coping with stress and things like that. Some of those types of classes that people maybe share some more personal information, they may not also be shown in the lounge because you do need to come in and participate in the Zoom session to be a part of some of those that maybe talk about slightly more sensitive topics. But that's never going to be our technology classes will always be in the lounge, our fitness classes, cooking classes, those kinds of things. But I know we do have Bernadette, who is a psychologist and things, and she runs there's no treatment kind of things, but she runs classes on kind of, avoiding negative thoughts and things like this and things where people may be sharing more personal things. And so some of those classes we don't stream in the lounge.
So at any one point in time, for instance, this exact moment right now,
Yep.
how many classes in different topics might be going on like right now?
Like right now, there's like.
Are we talking dozens or hundreds or what are we talking?
So that's going to depend a little bit on what time of day it is. So right now I can see at least 10 that are going on right now, but you're going to have certain time zones where maybe there's a bit of a gap. So I don't know, for example, like 2:30 in the morning, my time, we may have just a couple of early morning classes in India, in Australia starting. There is almost always classes going on. It is around the clock, but yeah, there'll be some times where there's going to be 10 to 20, and there'll be other times where there may be 2 to 4.
There are 3 classes
much
going on
notice?
right now, Liz, and there are 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, about 3 or 4 more classes that are scheduled to start at 8 o'clock or 8:30.
Okay.
And
How far
and
out
the same
are
number at
they?
9 o'clock.
How far out are they scheduled, Liz? In other words, if it's like 7:30 Chicago, Illinois time now, how soon might a class be scheduled like now to be shown 2 hours? Or are they usually
No,
scheduled?
no. They're
days in
scheduled
advance?
about 2 hours out. Maybe sometimes a guest speaker, maybe sorry, not 2 hours out, 2 weeks out.
2 weeks,
Usually the
okay,
schedule is updated every 2 weeks. So
okay.
it may not be like exactly updated exactly on Monday. That depends a little bit on when our guides give us the schedule for when they're available. So we try to do that about every 2 weeks so that they're updated, but every now and then maybe it's updated a little bit after, and then guest speakers are kind of coming in as they're signed up. But for example, we have guest speakers already scheduled through June. Those are going to be some of the ones that are scheduled the farthest out. Our guides tend to give their availability every 2 weeks, and so we try to schedule out 2 to 3 weeks. We're working to schedule out a month in advance, but it's a little hard always to know for our regular guides what their schedule will be like that far in advance. Anything else? Are there any topics on some classes and things that some of you may be interested in taking that you'd like to know if we have classes on? Not yet. Well, I would suggest exploring some of the classes. They're pretty interesting. If any of you are into cooking, for example, we have a cookbook project that's going on. And so a number of our community members are submitting recipes, and then they show how to cook different recipes from around the world. So if you're a chef of the kitchen, you may enjoy kind of learning some new recipes and testing out some new things. And we have a number of different things, from making origami to technology and a variety of things. So there's always something interesting. And our guest speakers are pretty interesting, I think. I go to a lot of their events as well. There's some book clubs.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What kind of classes do you have on editing photos?
Great.
Wonderful.
Scott teaches a number of those. Let me show you some of the ones that are on the schedule. So you can just type in editing. So Lakshmi's teaching one on the photo app Snapseed. Scott teaches one on editing portraits and selfies. So, if you want this guy to look like this guy, which is impressive, I can't do that. We also have Scott teaching on converting older photos, like from the paper form into digital format. Then some quick tips for Apple Photos. For those of you who use Apple Photos, that probably would include some things on editing. We have some on video basics if you're doing some video. There's the Magic of Photos app, and then a number around kind of, specific portrait versus food and photography. And so these are just his classes as well for like the next 2 weeks. He's regularly updating these, and so could also have different classes on photos. And I know there's a very vibrant photography group in our community. So these are things that Scott is our main guide teaching a lot of these classes. So you can suggest things to him as well. And most of our class ideas come from our community. So a great way to give ideas, if there's perhaps an app you're interested in or something specific, would be to tell Scott, and then that's something that maybe he can put up here in the future.
How would we tell him? Is there a link on your screen here, like send a message to Scott, or how do you do that?
Well, you could at any point, you could send something in the chat. You could always email me and I can send that to Scott. But I think if you're going to take some of his classes, you could just talk to him about it in the class.
Scott is,
so
I've taken a number of Scott's classes, and he he is extremely knowledgeable and very open to questions, and always willing to help with any kind of question you might have about this stuff. He's really, really very good, and he's a good instructor as well. He really is.
Yeah, Scott worked for a long time and still does. He works with us even on the marketing department, which I'm in. He does a lot of the communication. So he worked in this area for a very long time. So he's extremely knowledgeable. And yeah, so he teaches a number of different classes, but if you had something specific, I might pop into his focus on photography, weekly tips and tricks. And then mention what you wanted to learn, and that could be the topic for the next week. You know, if you give him some time to just prepare, if it's a specific app that he may need to look at. But he's done photography, and he still does a lot of photography, I believe, at freelance as well. So
What's the phone number you have in the upper right-hand corner? Is that for typical users, or is that when you get partnerships, or what's?
no, that's for users. So the phone number is our support line. So if for some reason you're having any kind of a problem and you're not being able to get into classes or something, you can call the support line. Well, yeah, at any time. So that's for our learners. So if you wanted to call and chat with our support team, or you couldn't get in, or you were having some kind of technical issue for some reason, you can call and they will either answer, or sometimes depending on how busy it may be, they would call you back. So, but usually there is somebody there to answer and help you troubleshoot with any problems you may have. You can also chat in the little help box if it's a quick question. For example, if you just wanted to suggest a class, you could just type it in.
I have another question. What type of classes do you have for painting and drawing for artwork?
Wonderful. So Pam Penny teaches a lot of our art classes. Let me find Pam. So Pam teaches our open art studio. So this is where people get together and kind of work on different art projects together. She does some on museums, drawing with colored pencils, drawing for beginners. She has a painting club. So those are the ones she has up for right now that I know she's working on. And then depending, and Pam's based in Michigan, so the time should be somewhat close. And then I know Sue does a lot of crafts and things. We have introduction to creating digital art as well, small art for gifting. So the nice thing is it kind of depends where you want. These Tangle classes Sue teaches is this kind of design work that's really interesting. A number of our learners have sent them to me, so they're very beautiful. It's kind of intricate designs. I haven't gotten to take her class, and she does a number of craft classes as well. Origami. Any other questions? Classes? Or about anything else? It's a really nice way to meet other people who maybe share some of your interests. We have classes on the Beatles, or just about anything you could think about. I feel like we have classes on, and if not, you can suggest them and we'll try and find someone who is knowledgeable about them to put them up there. So we're always keeping a list of these. Sometimes it may take us a bit of time to find the right expert, but we do get them up. I know Pam, for example, is someone who came in as a learner originally, and she's a former nurse, but she teaches our baking and our art classes because she's very passionate about painting and things. So once we find somebody who knows these things and can share a passion, yeah, we really try to highlight their skills.
I have a question. How long has this group been in existence?
Great question. So we started just a little bit before the pandemic, and the initial idea was to really work on teaching technology. Of course, once the pandemic happened, we taught a lot of technology. So we started right away with tech. We were teaching teachers actually, because for many teachers, I was a teacher at the time, they went from being in the classroom to having to use all digital tools, which many teachers didn't know a lot about. So we partnered with a number of schools and always offered all of our classes for free at the beginning. So we taught a number of tech things for teachers around kind of PowerPoint, Google Classroom, YouTube videos and things like that. And then a number of just basic skills for people to understand how to use Zoom, how to get prescriptions delivered to their house and food. And as the pandemic lasted more than the 2 weeks we all hoped it would, we branched out significantly. So we started teaching more technology classes, and then health and wellness was the next thing that more people wanted classes on, and more social hours and things. So I've been with the company since April of 2020. Back then there was 5 of us, and now we have 200 people. Not all of them are full-time, but we've grown a lot. When we were first giving classes, we had a couple of guides. So Wade, Donna, Glenda were some of our first guides, and sometimes we had 1, maybe 2 students in a class. Now that very rarely happens. Some of our classes are capped, like you can't, I believe there's no more than 30 people in a tech class, just so that people have a chance to ask questions and things like that. Other classes, maybe the limit's a bit higher. Some of our guest speaking classes, as many people can attend as want. So it kind of depends on the class, but yeah. So
Is there a cost for becoming a member with your group?
nope, you can sign up for free right now.
Thank you.
Yep. Anything else?
I think this is great. Thanks for doing this.
Yep.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And I can always I'll put my contact here in the chat. It's very simple. It's liz@getsetup.io. If at any point you have any questions or you have classes you'd like to recommend and you can't figure out how to get them to the right person, you can always reach out to me. I might not always be the person to answer your question, but I can pass it on to whoever needs to know or send you to the right person. So yeah, I'm always happy to help.
Well, thank you very much, Liz. And I understand you to say it's 2:30 in the morning where you are?
No, not quite. It's almost 10 p.m. though. So it's a
10
little bit
p.m.
later.
Oh, it's 10 p.m. Okay, it's not too bad. Well, okay, but thank you very much for an enlightening presentation. And Joe, we thank you for turning us on to Liz, and maybe we'll have you back another time.
That would be lovely. I'd always be happy to. Do you mind if I'll turn off my camera so I can eat dinner, but could I listen to the NFT presentation? Because I'm curious.
Absolutely.
I'd like to learn.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'll just stay on in the background, but I really appreciate being able to be here, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Liz. Okay. The next portion of our double header, we now want to turn the mic and the program over to Bob, who's going to talk to us about cryptocurrency. What is it and how does it work? Bob, it's all yours.
Yeah, by the way, I will not be doing anything much on NFT today because that's the topic of my August West Side
All right.
my presentation. And Joe has an appropriate background that he just took up. I will start sharing my screen so that we can get on with my presentation about cryptocurrency and validated transactions. Let me just share my entire screen. Am I sharing now?
You're sharing.
Oh, good. So now what I will try to do is see if I can see my stuff. Okay, now I've got to move you guys around so that I can get into my slideshow. I will want to defer questions and comments To the end, slideshow, here we go. All right, and I don't know how to get you guys off from on top of me in my screen share.
You're okay, Bob.
Yeah, but I am seeing you guys on top of me. And the only way I can get rid of that is not to be in full screen. Are you guys seeing my slides okay now?
You're fine. So you're fine.
Okay, good. All right, so if size won't be a problem, we'll get started. So I want to first note that I am not a financial advisor, and the presentation is not selling or endorsing any financial instruments or techniques. For investment advice, please consult your own financial advisor. Some of what I will present here may be a bit controversial and may differ from the opinions of other people. Yeah, that's the other thing. Let me try it this way. Okay. We will be discussing cryptocurrency. What is it? How does it work? What is a blockchain? How are blockchain transactions validated? What is proof of work? And what is proof of stake? Can we actually use Bitcoin to pay for stuff? And what happens when we want to cash out our Bitcoin? So what is a cryptocurrency? And here's an example of some of the cryptocurrencies. You can see my cursor, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. And so I'll try to keep it out of frame. What is cryptocurrency? At its most basic, a cryptocurrency is a digital asset that utilizes computer code and blockchain technology to operate somewhat on its own without the need for a central party, be that a person, a company, a central bank, or government, to manage the system. Bitcoin, the first cryptocurrency created. Bitcoin was developed initially to act as a payment mechanism native to the online world. Faster, cheaper, censorship resistant, and not beholden to any government or central bank whims. And it became popular in places that had repressive regimes, where it was difficult to do transactions through normal banking. Today, there are thousands of cryptocurrencies. These still act as payment mechanisms, but have also been developed for other use cases, such as lending and borrowing or digital storage. Did you know that most of your credit card transactions use the basic technology inside of cryptocurrency? And I'll explain what that technology is. One of the broadest use cases for the technology is speculation, buying crypto in the hopes that the price will go up and the holders can make a profit. Now, here's where some people got into a problem. On the upside, some people bought early with Bitcoin, and they will probably never see Bitcoin fall below what they invested. But people who are buying now are trying to do something similar to market timing. They're trying to buy low and sell high. And if you're not lucky, cryptocurrency is so volatile, you can get into real trouble that way. So most of what I'll be dealing with this evening is about Bitcoin. Some cryptocurrencies work differently from Bitcoin. One of these, Ethereum, has become tied to non-fungible tokens, or NFTs, that we were mentioning earlier. I will be going into more details about that area of cryptocurrency at a future CCS meeting. So how does it all work? While the definition is fluid, there are several features that typically make up a crypto asset. Cryptography. All cryptocurrencies rely on security features, including encryption, to maintain their integrity and to provide some degree of privacy in the transactions. This is not the same as providing absolute anonymity. We shall see later why crypto transactions are and must be inherently traceable from end to end. Our FBI, our IRS can trace a crypto transaction back to who did the buying and selling. They know your capital gains. Transparency, the use of open source protocols, but more importantly, Every crypto transaction is time-stamped to the blockchain, which I will explain, which creates a public provenance, that's proof or chronology of ownership or custody of assets. So there's a chain of custody. This makes every transaction traceable, but it is in place to allow people to trust that the cryptocurrency is valid and that its value is agreed upon in some way. And incentives. Bitcoin miners must use computer power to verify blocks of transactions. To compensate for the work that these miners do, newly minted coins are automatically distributed to miners when they verify a block of transactions. This is called proof of work. There are other ways to use proof of work, and some of these can get problematic, as we shall see in my other presentation when I present about Ethereum and its ties with what is called the metaverse and online gaming, in-game economies and tokens, which have no existence in the real world. You can read more about these basics about cryptocurrency in the reference, and I'll post all of this to the chat at CNBC. So what is a blockchain? And here's an example, a schematic of a blockchain. A blockchain is a type of database. Different cryptocurrencies are built on different blockchains. Some cryptocurrencies or tokens are built on top of other cryptocurrency blockchains. Tokens such as NFTs, for example, are built on the cryptocurrency blockchains like Ethereum. So Ethereum has a blockchain and the tokens are built on top of that. Blockchains are a type of public ledger, and I'll get into the exact definition of a ledger and I'll show you what it is. People may be familiar with a ledger from accounting. Blockchains record cryptocurrency transactions in an encrypted digital records that live on servers all around the world. Blockchains can also be used to record other types of information, like property records or the origins of a food item. For example, how do you trace lettuce back to the field where it was picked if you have a problem with food contamination? And how do you know which lots to recall? That became a problem recently nationwide, and it's been an ongoing problem. How do you trace? Well, blockchain technology could have helped. They don't have it in place yet. Most credit cards use blockchain technologies to make a secure public ledger of the transactions they handle. So you won't be able to read this, it's pretty small print, so I'll read it. With blockchain technology, each page in the ledger forms a block. The block has an impact on the next block or page through cryptographic hashing. In other words, when this block is completed, a hash of its header comes over to the next block and ties them together as part of a chain, and so on and so forth. Don't worry about what a Merkle root is. It's just got to do with encryption and security. In other words, when a block is completed, it creates a unique, secure code, which ties into the next block or the next page or block, creating a chain of blocks. And that's why it's called a blockchain. An accounting ledger is, by definition, an account or record used to store bookkeeping entries for balance sheet and income statement transactions. Accounting ledger journal entries can include accounts like cash, accounts receivable, investments, inventory, accounts payable, accrued expenses, and customer deposits. And there's a reference if you want to learn more. The blockchain works as a ledger, tracking down every Bitcoin transaction. It is self-verifying, meaning that the entire network of nodes, and I'll show a little graphic that'll show nodes. These are different computers that participate in what is essentially a peer-to-peer network. Will constantly check and secure every movement. Validation is achieved in essence through a consensus among the computers that participate in the peer-to-peer network. And it's pretty ad hoc how you join one of these networks. in most blockchains, not every one. So here's a traditional ledger here and what it looks like. And here's a blockchain transaction being entered into the blockchain. And here, the B with the circle and all that stuff around it, that's the peer-to-peer network, which is at the heart of validating a blockchain transaction. So the transaction is created and signed using digital signatures. The transaction is then sent to the Bitcoin network's nearest node, which is just one computer on, it's one computer on the network. Then the transaction is propagated into the network, and that means it's spread around the different computers, and it is confirmed once it reaches the closest node. So every 10 minutes, the network agrees on a valid block and updates the blockchain with the new transaction. This need to take 10 minutes to validate can cause problems with being able to scale up for large numbers of transactions. There's a little bit of that mentioned later on. So the blockchain works as a ledger, tracking every Bitcoin transaction. It is self-verifying, and validation is achieved. A peer-to-peer ledger is also known as a distributed or decentralized ledger. It doesn't have any central authority backing it. It's free of governments and their interference. Now, this is a little small to see, so I will bring it up here. How a smart contract works. I just want people to know what a smart contract is. It's not really much of a part of what I'm talking about this evening, but it will be part of NFTs in a future meeting. This example actually is real estate. Sanford, I don't think is here tonight, but he was wondering, can you do real estate using crypto? Well, yes, you can. And the way you do it is by using a smart contract. The land deed is a traditional deed. And this guy, Bob, wants to sell his house to this other guy, John. So we have to match the buyer and the seller. That is done through various financial technology applications known as fintech apps for short. So in this fintech app, a smart contract is created which receives the assets, which might be cryptocurrency, Bitcoin. A smart contract then will distribute the assets upon a certain trigger, which is the sale of the real estate. There's automatic clearing and there's automatic settlement. And the currency is digitized in the form of coin. So once this contract executes, there are some legal papers that do have to be signed in the real world, but the deed is essentially transferred at that point. And John now has undisputed ownership of the real estate, and Bob has the Bitcoin that was paid for it, whatever its value may be at any given moment. So this is another reference to the same sort of thing. Here, smart contracts are also explained in another reference that I have included. And they're just digital contracts stored on a blockchain that are automatically executed when predetermined terms and conditions are met. They resemble programmed trading in the securities markets. They are programs, not just contracts that sit on a lawyer's desk. So a smart contract, like any contract, establishes the terms of an agreement. But unlike a traditional contract, the smart contract's terms are self-executing through the algorithm in the code. Smart contracts allow developers to build apps, which are these fintech apps, that take advantage of blockchain security, reliability, and accessibility while offering sophisticated peer-to-peer functionality. Everything from loans to insurance to logistics and to some gaming economies, and even a whole world unto itself called the metaverse. So what makes contracts smart, however, is that the terms are established and executed as code running on a blockchain rather than on paper sitting on a lawyer's desk. Smart contracts expand the basic idea behind Bitcoin, sending and receiving money without a trusted intermediary like a bank or a government, to make it possible to securely automate and decentralize virtually any kind of deal or transaction, no matter how complex. And because they run on blockchain, on the blockchain, like Ethereum does, they offer security, reliability, and borderless accessibility. They're totally international. And here are a couple of more references in case you want to know more. I'm going to skip through the next 3 slides because they have to do with these 2 talks, which I will be delivering at various places at various times. And I have references to how to figure out when I'm going to be doing these. So how are blockchain transactions validated? And this is the same graphic I showed before about how the hash passes along the blockchain to make it secure. So we have seen how the blockchain is built, and we've seen a little bit about how it is validated. A blockchain is a type of database, which is a collection of information stored on a computer system electronically. A database structures data into tables, while a blockchain collects information into groups known as blocks that hold data sets. Each block has a specific storage capacity, a certain number of bits and bytes, that is chained onto the previous filled block when the new block is filled, forming a chain of data. That's why it's called a blockchain. Millions of blocks filled with data are chained together. This system means that every blockchain is a database that is more complex, since it creates an irreversible chain line of data when implemented in a decentralized system, like this peer-to-peer network that validates everything in a proof of work system. The goal of blockchain is to allow digital information to be recorded and distributed, but not to be edited. This differs from most databases. Now, there can be problems with the fact that these blocks are pretty much immutable. If a blockchain gets broken into and corrupted, it's awfully difficult to heal a blockchain. Ethereum ran into that problem in 2019, more or less. Transactions that are part of the blockchain have to be approved by thousands and thousands of computers. This removes all human involvement in verification, which means there are fewer human errors, as well as a more accurate record of information. Any member of the Bitcoin network can check and verify the blockchain at any time. Although anyone with an internet connection can see the list of the network's transaction history and access details about transactions, no one can access identifying information directly about the users that are making those transactions. Every time a transaction is recorded, it is verified by the network. That's supposed to be anonymous. But as I have stated previously, there are algorithms that can trace back to the identifying information. So I've been talking about proof of work in terms of validation. And there is another way of doing validation, and that is proof of stake. So proof of work versus proof of stake. Proof of work and proof of stake are the 2 major consensus mechanisms cryptocurrencies use to verify new transactions, add them to the blockchain, and create new tokens. Proof of work, first pioneered by Bitcoin, uses mining to achieve these goals. Proof of stake, which is employed by Cardano, the ETH2 is the new Ethereum blockchain that they're still developing, and others, uses staking to achieve the same things. Proof of stake is part of a future presentation, as Bitcoin does not use proof of stake. Proof of work blockchains are secured and verified by virtual miners around the world, racing to be the first to solve a complex math problem. Complicated, I should say. Complex means something special in math. It's a complicated math puzzle. The winner gets to update the blockchain with the latest verified transactions and is rewarded by the network with a predetermined amount of crypto. Proof of work is energy intensive, and it can have trouble scaling to accommodate the vast numbers of transactions that smart contract compatible blockchains like Ethereum can generate. And so alternatives have been developed, the most popular of which is proof of stake. So what is proof of stake? I have a reference. While the Bitcoin blockchain mostly just has to process incoming and outgoing Bitcoin transactions, much like a vast checkbook or ledger, Ethereum's blockchain also has to process a vast array of decentralized finance called DeFi transactions and stablecoin smart contracts. You just heard about stablecoin in the news because one of the stablecoin chains collapsed recently due to certain things in the market conditions. And that's something that I can talk about at a future presentation, how that kind of thing can happen. And Ethereum is also involved in NFT minting and sales and whatever other innovations developers might come up with in the future. So you don't have to worry about all these terms tonight, but basically the solution is to build an entirely new type of blockchain, which began rolling out in December 2020 and should be finished in sometime in 2022, unless they delay it again. It's been delayed several times. The exact details vary by project, but in general, proof of stake blockchains employ a network of validators who contribute or stake their own crypto in exchange for a chance of getting to validate new transactions, update the blockchain, and earn a reward. In other words, you can actually buy in to a proof of stake blockchain, and you can buy influence. And if any one or any group gets more than 51% of the blockchain, they can start doing some manipulations, which would result in being able to double spend the coin. And you have to safeguard against that. So the network selects a winner based on the amount of crypto each validator has in the pool and the length of time they've had it there. Once the winner has validated the latest block of transactions, other validators who also would have proof of stake can attest that the block is accurate. And it sort of goes in a hierarchy according to who has the largest stake. When a threshold number of attestations have been made, the network updates the blockchain with a new valid block. All participating validators receive a reward in the native cryptocurrency, which is generally distributed by the network in proportion to each validator's stake. Complaints about this system include that the system gives a lot of power to a few whales. Whales are big, wealthy investors. While pools, in other words, you can pool your assets with other smaller investors and others so as to create your own whale. While pools can allow smaller investors to have collective power, it is still believed by many that the system favors larger investors. So smaller investors have been discouraged from participating in proof of stake blockchains. This has implications for the actual value of NFTs. And all of that goes into my presentation on NFTs. So if anyone tries to validate a block in a proof of stake blockchain and their decision is not accepted, or if they try to do something fraudulent, a portion of their stake is burned. It's written out of the blockchain. The coins actually just completely disappear. This can also be problematic in some cases. So can we actually use Bitcoin to pay for stuff? How can I buy something with Bitcoin? The easiest and most convenient way to make purchases using Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies is with a cryptocurrency debit card. And yes, you can get these. You can put your cryptocurrencies, your Bitcoins, into a credit card, or it's actually a debit card. These debit cards, which are available from major crypto exchanges and other providers, also allow the holder to withdraw cash from participating ATMs that can handle cryptocurrency. That's not terribly common in this country, but we'll see an example of a country where it's very common. Many of these ATMs participate in major networks such as the MasterCard and Visa networks. So they really do have some backing from some major companies. Electronics, luxury watches, even cars are among the items that cryptos can purchase. For example, Bitcoin and Tesla seem to go together a lot because Elon Musk really likes Bitcoin. And you can buy a Tesla with Bitcoin. Even real estate, as we have seen, can be paid for with crypto, providing that the seller's financing arrangements can accept this form of payment. And here are some headlines about where cryptocurrency has been used to buy and sell things. Crypto just became real estate's hottest new thing. The crypto boom opens the door to a new class of landlords, so you can become a landlord in the real world. There's also a whole metaverse in which you can own virtual real estate, but that's a different matter. But yes, there are getting to be companies which will accept and even facilitate real estate transactions using cryptocurrencies and smart contracts. Many Amazon merchants do accept Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency, and Amazon has the ability to process these payments themselves, or you can go through PayPal. My PayPal account says, do you want to put some Bitcoin in? I don't have any, so I don't do it, but you could do it. So remember, the price of crypto is very volatile. So the value of your purchase in crypto may fluctuate wildly. And here's an interesting thing. El Salvador has become the first country to adopt Bitcoin as an official currency. The cryptocurrency will be legal tender alongside of the US dollar. So there's that. Many in the international finance community are very skeptical of the viability of the concept of using Bitcoin as a national currency. There are other digital currencies that banks can put out that are backed by the same government backing that traditional so-called fiat currencies have used. So it's really a question of trust once again. But El Salvador is unique. They do not have a local official currency. This is in part because the country's economy is almost entirely made up of moving around goods and services. They're a transshipment point. And so they act only as a waypoint in the flow of commerce. And that's what allows them to use cryptocurrency as an official currency. You get somebody like China, however, cryptocurrency competes with their digital currency, and they have banned cryptocurrency completely. You're not allowed to use it at all there. India has a very low opinion of cryptocurrency. They call it a Ponzi scheme. So what happens if we want to cash out our Bitcoins? How to sell Bitcoin? 5 ways to cash out your BTC holdings. BTC means Bitcoin, it's shorthand. Not all of these methods will work for other cryptocurrencies. You can use cryptocurrency exchanges. Despite having several disadvantages, the exchange on which your cryptocurrency is held for you are a one-stop solution when it comes to trading Bitcoin. In case of selling cryptocurrency, the exchanges are acting as an intermediary, holding the sellers and buyers' funds. It is important to remember that despite offering wallet services, you can get actually a physical device known as a crypto wallet. And it plugs in sort of like a fancy USB drive, only it's got a different kind of interface. Biggest problem with that is, I saw a video about this. If you forget your PIN code to access your wallet, you have no access to your Bitcoin any longer. And nobody can help you unless there's a flaw in the firmware, the software that's built in. And that's exactly what in the video they had to crack in order to get into this guy's wallet. If there hadn't been a flaw in the firmware, he would have been up the creek, and you know which creek. So anyway, that is one of the disadvantages. Like a password manager, you have to remember a master key. But anyway, despite offering wallet services, exchanges are by no means a secure, reliable place to store your funds. They can be and have been targeted by hackers. Ethereum got hit. And early on, one of the Bitcoin exchanges, Mt. Gox, got hit badly, but they were able to recover, whereas Ethereum almost didn't. Some of these exchanges have shut down, leaving their depositors with no recourse to recover the funds they held. 2 exchanges in Canada turned out to be just shell games, and the people running the exchanges ran off with the money. And what are you going to do? There's no regulation of these places, at least not yet. Or you can do direct trades of Bitcoin with Bitcoin buyers who will post listings on certain platforms. This would include fintech apps, but there are other platforms as well, online and mostly online. There's also an area of the dark web where you can do these transactions. And so people will post their desired price, their preferred payment option, etc. And interested parties then find the listings they like and complete the sale by following the instructions provided by the platform. These sales involve a high degree of trust. You can get scammed. Things can go very wrong. You can also do face-to-face transactions, but that's kind of like using Craigslist or Facebook or the Facebook Marketplace. It's got that kind of issue. You have to arrange to meet with somebody to exchange your cryptocurrency for cash or goods and services. Potential dangers exist when trading Bitcoin in person with strangers, similar to the risks that come with other in-person financial transactions. And then, as I've indicated with El Salvador, and they also exist in the United States, Bitcoin ATMs. You set up a wallet, which is this device, or you can set up a debit card, and you can draw from it as you would do in a traditional ATM setting. There are some parts of the world where crypto ATMs do exist that are exclusively for crypto, but they are rare to non-existent in other areas. In fact, crypto ATMs would not be found in China or India because they ban them. In the US, there are crypto ATMs and ATMs that are crypto capable, but there are not anywhere near as many. They're not anywhere near as common here as the US dollar ATMs that use our fiat currency. And here we've just got some pictures of all kinds of crypto coins. At this point, I think I am going to stop sharing my screen unless people, well, maybe I should continue to share the screen in case we need to go back to a slide previously. But I will now entertain questions, comments, whatever. Do you need something further explained?
Bob, when you said one of the things is solving math problems, I just want to clarify. These aren't just random math problems. These are problems that keep the Bitcoin, that particular Bitcoin system going to make blockchain stuff.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not random math
just
problems.
a moment, I will go back to a graphic. The transaction creation involves, when you create a coin, when you mine a coin in proof of work, you have to solve, your computer actually has to solve a math problem that may involve prime numbers raised to certain powers, and you have to figure out what the prime number is or something like that. It is heavily dependent on very large prime numbers, and no human could ever hope to complete that math equation in our heads or on paper. You have to use a computer. In fact, you have to use computers that have hundreds, literally hundreds of GPUs, which are used solely for doing the numeric calculations that a computer does to solve prime number expressions. And so it's incredibly complex. You really have to have a lot of money to be able to invest in one of these server farms now. But in the beginning, people were using personal computers. There was an excellent episode of Big Bang Theory in which these geniuses had a laptop from long ago. And somewhere in that laptop, they had mined a Bitcoin, which now had a lot of value. And they had to figure out how to get into the laptop and how to run the program. And then they had to remember, they had to figure out what the access code was. And that was the problem. Nobody could remember. And they also didn't know where the laptop was because somebody had already pawned it. So anyway, these are the things that go on. It is a complex math problem.
So it's using computers' RAM exclusively, not their hard drive, just their RAM?
Actually, it isn't even RAM, it's video RAM. And video graphics processors, which process numbers. If you're going to create an image, put an image up on the screen in a computer, and you have a separate graphics card, there's a special processing unit that works really, really fast with math, and it's vector math or raster math. In this case, it would probably be like doing raster math because you're doing matrices. And computers do those using numeric methods. So it takes a lot of computing power, and it generates a lot of heat, a lot of waste heat. And the electricity used is enormous. And this is one of the criticisms. It's environmentally horrible. And it also helps to create a shortage of GPU cards if you've ever tried to buy one recently. There's another method that uses a lot of hard drive real estate. And now hard drives are becoming difficult to find, and computer RAM. Okay, so yeah, the complexity of the problem is what gives the value to the coin. And there are various other ways of making it more and more difficult to mine the same amount of value. There's something called halving, which happens every so often with Bitcoin. Proof of stake, you just simply make an investment. Did that answer the question? Anything else?
Well, you know,
Wait, Dennis, are you through?
well, no, let me just say, so to me, Bitcoin can only keep going up because, you know, every website you go to now, no matter what website you go to log into,
Yeah.
they have a little link that says, oh, you forgot your password, you know, click on this link and you know, we'll get you in. Bitcoin has no such thing. So as people lose or forget, don't know their passwords, they basically donated all their money to all the other people who are in Bitcoin, and they're out of luck. So it can
actually it's worse. Those Bitcoins would disappear. It's like burning Ethereum. Those Bitcoins have no value anymore. They're gone.
They wouldn't go to the remaining people in Bitcoin. They're just gone. Okay.
Since there is a limited amount, a set amount of Bitcoin, the remaining coins would gain value, but that doesn't mean it keeps going up. Not very many people do forget because most people leave their coin on exchanges, and the exchanges don't forget.
Oh.
And any abandoned Bitcoin eventually gets circulated back, gets put back into circulation. But the problem is Bitcoin is only valued at how much somebody's willing to pay for it. That means that Bitcoin will fluctuate wildly in value. And if you've watched it in recent years, in recent months, it's been going up and down and up and down, and it terribly badly crashes every time Elon Musk tweets anything about, oh, I'm buying Twitter or things of that sort. It's extremely sensitive to that kind of news. Musk has been fined by the SEC for market manipulation twice now. So no, it is not guaranteed to go up, not in the least.
Well, as long as Warren Buffett doesn't believe in it, I'm out myself.
Well, there are reasons why Warren Buffett doesn't like it, and those reasons manifested themselves in stablecoin recently, not so much in Bitcoin yet. We don't know. But for now, people who invested early are pretty safe. They're sitting pretty. I know some people in Lexington, Massachusetts, who made a lot of money on Bitcoin, and they're not going to lose it. Not anytime soon. Okay, Des? Okay, who's next?
What does double spending mean?
Okay, Larry? And
Yeah,
then we'll get to Joe. Yeah, what's the question?
double, you mentioned about double spending.
Yes. This is not possible in a proof of work blockchain. In a proof of stake blockchain, you have a problem if anybody holds 51% of the stake. They control that blockchain. And if somebody controls the blockchain with 51%, they can manipulate the chain and they can manipulate transactions. They can validate transactions that are not truly legitimate. And that's where they can double a transaction and double spend a coin. And it can amount to a lot of money. And that's one of the criticisms of proof of stake. Ethereum is trying to protect against that by preventing anybody from ever achieving 51%. And that gets into pools, and that gets into something I don't want to really talk about called DAOs, which are collective organizations that are also decentralized. And people join DAOs to become bigger investors, and Ethereum is encouraging this. DAOs are part of the NFT talk. Anything else, Larry?
No,
Okay, was Joe next?
Yes, I have a question. Have you looked at what the Chicago Mercantile Exchange is doing with Bitcoin futures?
There are futures. They are derivatives. You know, if Bitcoin is seen as sort of like a derivative, these futures are derivatives of a derivative. Again, there's nothing in the real world that Bitcoin is solidly tied to. It's only the fact that the exchange has been around long enough, it's big enough. Many investors consider it too big to fail. Now, the SEC has yet to weigh in on Bitcoin. It may become regulated. So right now, these are unregulated futures contracts. And yeah, on the Chicago Exchange, you can have unregulated contracts, unlike the New York exchanges, which are regulated totally. So is there anything else you want to know about these contracts, Joe, even though I'm not terribly familiar with them?
No, I just wondered how much you knew about it, because I know that the Merc was the first one to have futures on exchanges, on currencies.
Yeah,
They made
cryptocurrencies.
they made a big stride in financial futures when they did that some time ago.
Yeah, it's a little controversial that they did it. And I can, well, there's a talk I'm giving to another computer group about a practice called front running, where somebody can do a network shortcut and get in front of your trade and prevent your trade. And in high frequency trading, this has become a real problem. And the SEC did step in a couple of times about it, but it still happens.
Well,
So,
the Mercantile Exchange is governed by the Commodity Futures Trading Commission,
right,
not the SEC.
right. They have different rules. Different
Yeah.
rules. Yeah, and the CFTC has been a lot more liberal with these kinds of contracts, these smart contracts. They want there to be smart contracts because smart contracts really kind of dovetail with traditional commodities contracts. They've always been more speculative. They've always been more risky. And it's always been a matter of trusting the people with whom you have the contract and trusting the exchange itself. So they've always operated differently. Anything else?
No, thank you.
Anyone else?
I'm not sure how they could really do the real estate, because like in Cook County, Illinois, I mean, you have deeds and paperwork that have to be filed with the county and all kinds of stuff. So I don't know how that would, I don't know that they could make it work with the real estate.
Oh, Dennis, that's the legal aspect of a transfer. The financial aspect of a transfer can be handled in crypto. But the legal aspect, you have to have all the papers done. I may not have emphasized that enough, but the physical deed that I showed you, I can probably go back there and show it to you. It's a little ways the other way. I have an illustration somewhere. Well, anyway, my illustration, it's got to be here.
But Okay, I think.
Oh, I know what it is. It's this illustration. This is the real estate illustration. Okay, the physical deed, the land deed, can be digitized so that you can use it in a smart contract. But the physical deed itself, by law, has to exist on paper with a seal and everything. And it's in the
Okay.
recorder of deeds office. That has to be signed over in the usual way, using lawyers and all that.
Oh, so lawyers and the banks, whoever's still getting together, but you're just transferring funds and stuff through crypto.
The bank may not be involved.
Oh,
You may be using a fintech app or a fintech platform, which is totally independent of a bank and is decentralized. That's the whole idea of using the Bitcoin. And I must say, sometimes people use Bitcoin real estate transactions to launder money. It does happen. So anything else? Any other questions about how real estate works? Any other general questions? Okay, hearing none, I think I can hand the session back. There might be a couple in chat. There's something in chat.
No question, Chad, Bob.
Okay, no questions. Okay, then I'll hand it back by stopping share. There you are, Al.
Okay, I want to thank you, Bob. Thank you for enlightening us on what cryptocurrency is. It's still too rich for my blood.
Yeah, it's weird
Yeah.
stuff.
But
I'm going to put into chat my document. And this has to go up here and down to South Suburban, crypto blockchain. No, I had it over here. Cryptocurrency PDF. Everybody getting that? Oh, it'll take a minute. There. Everybody getting it?
It's here.
Cool.
Cryptocurrency, and we can save it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Back to you.
And so, okay, thanks again, Bob. And I hope everyone is as confused as I am about cryptocurrency. You know, when you talk about cryptocurrency, you think, well, how does it relate to our currency? Can I relate one piece to another? What about the denominations? Can I see the denomination of the cryptocurrency and compare it to the denomination that I am accustomed to? Well, apparently no.
The only way that has been attempted is through stable coins. And I can explain in my talk in August how stablecoin tries to link the fiat currency you're used to with the crypto.
Okay. Okay, we'll wait for August for a further explanation of cryptocurrency. But again, thank you very much, Bob. Okay, do we have any comments, anything on any topic at all from anyone in the audience? Anybody at all?
Try to make a quick announcement, Al.
Go right ahead.
The first meeting of the CCS investment SIG will be June 9th. It's a second Thursday. It's going to be co-hosted with my daughter, who's a high school teacher. Our first topic is going to be taxes 2021. We'll be putting out a bulletin, the week before for our CCS members. First, I'm going to take the first one. We'll talk about taxes, which is important for investing. Probably the second one we'll do on the investment types. Third meeting we'll probably do on the different software packages available for tracking investments. So we hope everybody will join in and participate in our CCS investment SIG, which will be on the second Thursdays, like 7 to 9, just like Al Cheeks' meetings. Thank you.
Thanks, Terry.